Hey, Juan here. If you want to really create a proper pro operations framework in your company, part of your work is really going to be choosing the right tools to do your job. In this video, let's cover what are the most common tools for pro operations to make sure that you are covering all the different aspects. We are not covering only product management tools. We will cover different types of operations. First of all, let's start with workshops. I think that workshops and ideation is something that many pro operations teams do, and there are very great tools to do this. For me, my favorite ones are Miro and Mural. Probably if I had to choose one, I would probably choose Miro. I think it's a brilliant tool and it is great to do ideation. Some people use it though to do project planning, project management. I don't like it very much because of how easy it is to mess up things in Miro when somebody comes and drags and drop something and then your whole board is kind of messed up. For that side, I don't like it very much. And I know that you can block different areas of your board, but it's still not the easiest way of working. So I would not recommend it for that purpose. Still, when it comes to workshops, when it comes to ideation, even when it comes to do very simple prototypes, low fidelity prototypes, for example, super easy to use. You don't need to learn to use other tools like Figma, for example. Going back and moving forward, a great designing tool that many people are using is Figma. Another very important section for you to work with when you are in pro operations is documentation. You have to document this. I mean, it's like if you're in pro operations and you're not able to document or you're not able to get your product teams to document their work, then you are going to end up in a mess. Let's be realistic. It doesn't mean that you have to document everything to death or that you had to kill everybody with the process of documenting too much. But you have to have documentation of meetings, documentation of plans, decisions. This is very important, decisions that have been made, because many people then forget that they made a certain decision at a certain point. So it's very important that you document all these things. And sometimes it's just documentation of, well, how the scope of a feature is going to be, or how do we think that this is going to move forward, or how we did an ideation phase. And just being able to link or create all that documentation is really a great thing. For me, the best tools to do this is something like Notion, Coda, I really like. You can also use Confluence if you are already using Jira. Confluence is not my favorite, but it integrates really well with Jira, so I would not overlook it, especially if you're in the Atlassian, if you're already using Atlassian products. I've seen some companies documented with Word, and creating a ton of folders is super difficult to manage. It's really, really, really a black hole of information. And I know, that Notion can be a black hole of information as well, but I think that you can add better structure in Notion that you can add, for example, in Word or Drive or whatever it is that you are using to create folders. Hey, before we move to the next stage, I want to let you know that if you want to up your game as a pro operations person, I created a course that is going to help you set up a holistic framework in your company to make sure that you are scaling up your pro operations work. Tools for prioritization, I would say here is where we are starting to enter the realm of the product management tools. So product tools like ProductBoard, Airfocus, ProductPlan, Pendo, those are really good alternatives to take into consideration if you are using or if you are prioritizing. Why? Because they are customized. And they have customizations for different frameworks, prioritization frameworks, which is going to help you with your work. And that's really something that you can take advantage when you are doing pro operations. So definitely I will look into them, especially if you are scaling products. If you are working with a small product, I would say that something like Notion, something like Coda can perfectly work for you. You can even use things like Excel or Airtable or Jira, for that matter, using customized or custom fields. Maybe not the best option, though, in my opinion. Then when it comes to road mapping, again, we end up with the usual suspects of different product management tools. So I would say, again, ProductBoard, Airfocus, ProductPlan, Pendo, Aha. Those are very good alternatives to look into if you want to work or if you want to create roadmaps. Realistically, you can create roadmaps with Notion, you can create roadmaps with Jira, and they work. So, and you can create roadmaps with Code as well. So it's not like they are the only alternatives. There are all their generic tools like, or generalist tools like Monday.com, sorry. And what is the other one? Now I'm completely missing the other one I wanted to tell. Asana. And there are other alternatives. So you can consider different alternatives if, for whatever reason, you're already using in the company, especially if you don't have very large teams. I think that they work quite well. For strategic work, there are other alternatives. Sometimes here, some of the product management tools offer different ways of creating like intents or creating goals or creating objectives, however they are called, different strategies that you are going to have in the company or in your product. You can create them and then you can see how different ideas score against those different objectives. So ProductPlan, ProductBoard, Airfocus, they have usually this kind of functionality. Another alternatives that you could look into is Cascade, LucidSpark, and others. And when it comes to execution, probably everybody out there, not everybody, but most of the people out there are using Jira. Some people are using also GitHub for the execution part of project management, let's call it, of the work. Before I close, I want to let you know which ones are the tools that I have been working with of these ones. When it comes to workshops, typically I use Miro. I also use Mural. I prefer Miro. Documentation, I use Notion, Coda, Confluence, Word. Notion for me is the best. Road mapping, ProductBoard, I've used Aha, I've used as well Notion. If I would say that in small companies, I would go for Notion. In larger companies, I probably would go for something like ProductBoard or some of the other alternatives. I'm not totally in love with ProductBoard, but it's not definitely a bad tool. For prioritization, usually I have used what it comes out of the box in the tools. I either have created my own custom fields to create my scoring models, and in some cases, I've used some external tool like Excel to create something like value versus effort. And when it comes for strategy, again, I use what is available in the tool. So especially with ProductBoard, I was using the objectives there. And finally, for execution, I've used mainly Jira. That was a while ago when I was a developer. But I still look into Jira when I was a product manager to look into bugs, to look into user stories, epics, and so on. I have a comparison video between different product management tools that I will link up here. If you want me to cover some of these tools and do reviews of them, please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. I will see you in the next one. And remember, stay safe.